How are you guys doing? This is Ryan, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to talk about my Bitcoin story. I feel like a lot of people hear about Bitcoin, it actually takes them a little bit of time to really figure it out. I was on OfferUp trying to sell something to someone and the guy was trying to lowball me in the price. I said, well, if you pay me in Bitcoin cash, I'll sell it to you at that price. But if you don't, I'm not willing to trade this good for fiat. And his response to me is, I never believe in Bitcoin and I never will. And now it's a $2 trillion market and people still don't believe in it. So I think everyone eventually will have the red pill moment. And it actually took me a little bit of time as well. Morning. Sorry, just walking my dog. So I actually found Bitcoin at a pretty young age, and unfortunately I missed out on it for many years because I followed the wrong philosophy. And I hope people find this valuable into challenging their ideas and be careful of whose opinion they hold the highest. But growing up here in South Florida in 2008, the financial crisis was extremely painful, extremely painful. And I was about 18 years old, 19 years old, and people very close to me were destroyed by this financial phenomenon that I didn't understand. I was like, what's going on in the world? Why is everyone I know losing their houses, losing everything they worked for? So I became very interested in like politics and the concept of economics. And I was in college at the time, I was taking economic classes. And unfortunately, they weren't giving great information looking back on it. They didn't have the answers as to why the financial crisis happened. But the political sentiment in the time was that, you know, there was a Republican in office when it happened, kind of in that 2008 time, and then a Democrat came in and was gonna kind of save the day. So I was kind of attracted to the idea of liberalism at the time because I thought it was contrary to conservatism on like a broader platform. I actually today don't think the parties are that much too different in a lot of ways. But like I always thought there was something like fishy with the reasons why we were fighting our wars, at least like the Republicans were. Like why did we go invade Iraq if some Saudi people that were living in Afghanistan attacked us? And why were we there for like 7-8 years? And just didn't make a lot of sense to me. So being anti-war and going to college that didn't really teach very good economics. They just taught Keynesian economic theory and they never even introduced really the idea of Austrianism or really got into any kind of deep Austrian economics. So it left me kind of lost. But then I came across someone called Ron Paul and he was anti-war and he was Republican. Like it didn't make sense to me that you could be Republican and anti-war.
It raises the question, if you were President of the United States, would you need to go to Congress to get authorization to take military action against Iran's nuclear facilities?
You sit down with your attorneys and tell you what you have to do, but obviously the President of the United States has to do what's in the best interest of the United States to protect us against a potential threat. The President did that as he was planning on moving into Iraq and received the authorization of Congress.
Did he need it?
You know, we're going to let the lawyers sort out what he needed to do and what he didn't need to do, but certainly what you want to do is to have the agreement of all the people in leadership of our government as well as our friends around the world where those circumstances are available.
Gentlemen, it's so important. Congressman Paul, do you believe the President needs authorization of Congress to attack strategic targets in Iran, nuclear facilities?
Absolutely. This idea of going and talking to attorneys totally baffles me. Why don't we just open up the Constitution and read it? You're not going to as far as keeping enemies go, yes, if there's an imminent attack on us, we've never had that happen in 220 years. The thought that the Iranians could pose an imminent attack on the United States is preposterous. There's no way. This is just war propaganda, continual war propaganda, preparing this nation to go to war and spread this war not only in Iraq but into Iran unconstitutionally. It is a road to disaster for us as a nation. It's a road to our financial disaster if we don't read the Constitution once around the horn.
But he talked about economics different than all the Republicans talked about it. And he started talking about the monetary system and how we had this central authority called the Federal Reserve that could do whatever they want, print money, run whatever kind of government programs, and allow politicians to fight wars with no restraint. And I'm like, what is going on? And he was on a stage debating in presidential elections against people that were warmongers and just such an outlier. It was so curious to watch that I started digging deeper down this rabbit hole. And unfortunately, it brought me to a man called Peter Schiff, who had very popular videos on YouTube called Peter Schiff Was Right, predicting the financial crisis in 2008. Again, this financial crisis caused me and a lot of people close to me a lot of pain, so I pay very close attention to this, and I watch videos of him just predicting this financial phenomenon to occur, and people laughed at him, but I was like, wow, he saw something I didn't. And if you know who Peter Schiff is, you're now learning why I missed on Bitcoin earlier than I should. So anyways, this brought me down a rabbit hole to read all kinds of financial books from F.A. Hayek, Milton Friedman, Murray Rothbard, to really understand humans and their interactions and the economic system and the central banking system. And I really thought it was silly that in currency we didn't really have competition. Like the government had one currency that everyone had to use, but with everything else in life it has tons of competition, like the shirt I'm wearing, the car we're driving, the neighborhood you live in. Like there's so many competition of ideas for what you can do, but in currency we just use one currency. And when I first heard about Bitcoin back in around 2011, 2012, I was like, wow, this is the moment. I need to see if this is something I should pay attention to, and can this take over the world? But then again, I started following Peter Schiff, who's a big proponent of gold and silver, and really pushed people away from buying Bitcoin. And he still is doing that today, even though he's watched the price go from really like $20 all the way up to $64,000 or whatever it is today. But I remember being in college, and a kid that I was sitting next to, became friends with him. He was using the Silk Road to buy hallucinogenic drugs and using Bitcoin. And I just thought it was like so amazing that like he was able to do something that's not a crime in a peaceful way that the government calls a crime, and be civilly disobedient with Bitcoin. Like I believe people who practice civil disobedience are like true heroes, like, you know, Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King and people like that. I think people that just use the system and are willing to do peaceful things to protest against it, like those people have courage. Even though I don't condone drug use, I don't use drugs, but like if you wanted to use drugs, or if you're making bad decisions making drugs, as long as you're making bad decisions that didn't hurt anyone, like that's freedom. That's investing. With investing you have self-responsibility too. You can invest like an idiot and hurt yourself, but you shouldn't go to jail for that. You should be responsible for your own risk and your own poor decisions, like following Peter Schiff and buying gold and silver instead of Bitcoin. So anyways, 2012 goes along. You know, I'm just getting out of college. I'm starting to make a little bit of money, but every month I'm putting my money into gold and silver. At that time, watching so much financial pain occur, I knew like I needed to invest my money. And I watched Bitcoin on the second month go to like $600 or $700. And I was really like wanting to FOMO in, but I kept my hands off the buy button. And then of course it crashed back down. I was like, okay, maybe this isn't gonna work out as a currency. But then it wasn't really until 2017 when Bitcoin got all the way up to like $4,000. I was like, okay, this Peter Schiff guy is not right. And Bitcoin was getting so much press. Like it wasn't now only on like libertarian YouTube channels, it was on like CNBC, and like everyone started talking about it, and the price kept on going up. And now that I actually financially committed my money to it, I started asking questions like, how can this actually work? Because you're gonna hear stories of all the reasons why Bitcoin's not gonna work. And one thing you'll hear is that like governments won't allow it to work. And then I just finally came to the realization, governments don't want to allow it to work because they don't want competition that's going to better serve people. So even if like I'm wrong on this investment and governments do try to shut down Bitcoin, which if you study it further, it's very difficult to shut down Bitcoin or any of these cryptocurrencies because there's no central point of attack. Like it's just an open source network that has nodes running all over the world. It's very difficult to shut down. And I would say nearly impossible. But I came to this realization that Peter Schiff was an idiot just shilling his own investment vehicles, selling his own gold and silver and things like that. And his son has like disobeyed him now. He's on Twitter all the time, like pushing Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and him and his father fight all day about it. That's rather entertaining. So I came to the realization, just because the government may want to try to ban something that's actually good for people, that brings competition in the world, that can push more economic freedom, that could challenge them and make it harder for them to justify the reasons why they collect their taxes to fight wars and run their programs. Because governments become so dishonest with money because they know it's not like popular to go fight wars. It's not popular to push taxes on people. Like they'll be more critical of the system if they see their money more directly being taken or theft or whatever word you want to use for taxation. But if they could just print it and not have to face the political consequence of saying I created this tax, that's something that they get away with in the fiat system. But if they had competition in currency and really had to justify what they were collecting their money for, like for example in World War II, to raise money for the war, people actually bought war bonds. It was almost like voting for the war. Like people were willing to part for their dollars in set time to make interest back in the future because they believed that America was fighting a good war. That was a voluntary way to raise capital to defend your country or whatever you believe in terms of going to war. War should not be something that politicians can just create money to buy a bomb and drop it on someone. Like if you're gonna murder someone, if you're gonna kill someone, you shouldn't be able to steal people's value and money to do it. So again, going back to who I was at an earlier age, like being anti-war really attracted me to cryptocurrency. And I really understood that like cryptocurrency could stop war almost, in a sense, or at least governments fighting wars, and at least try to make war somewhat more justifiable, and I hate to say the word like ethical, if you will. So the idea of government shutting it down didn't become a good enough reason not to invest in it. Even if government did try to fight a war against its people, which I don't think it's going to happen, but I think I'd want to be on the side of the cryptocurrency people. Like, we only live one life. Like, why not stand up for something you believe in? Like, you're gonna acquiesce and watch horrible things happen. Why not get involved? Why not start a YouTube channel and talk about these ideas? Like, that's why a lot of my channel exists, because I think that things like cryptocurrency and investing can really help people, and it helps me talking about it, having a platform and getting in a community of people that are interested in stuff like this. So that was like my red pill moment. That was like, understood that like it wasn't going anywhere, it could stop governments from fighting wars, and then I just jumped more into the technology and trying to understand it better. And even more so today, I am trying to get involved and trying to adopt cryptocurrency more, especially Bitcoin Cash, because it's usable as cash. That's why I really like Bitcoin Cash, is because it's actually trying to replace the dollar rather than just gold. The dollar is what governments use as their tool to suppress people, to fight wars, to create government programs, to buy votes, and do all the deceitful things that they do. And I think Bitcoin Cash does a better job of attacking the dollar than Bitcoin BTC just attacking gold. And that's why I am a proponent of it. That's why I accept it for business. That's why I gave away so much Bitcoin Cash over the last week. I had so many people reach out to me. Unfortunately, I said in my last video, if you leave your QR code in the comments, I'd give you some Bitcoin Cash. But unfortunately, YouTube censored that. But if you just shoot me a DM on Instagram, rgiffin89, I'll send you some Bitcoin Cash over there. You can get a wallet and try to really use that in commerce. And if you go to map.bitcoin.com, you can see all the businesses around you that accept cryptocurrency. And people ask me, Ryan, what do I do with this Bitcoin that you gave me? I'm like, you have your own bank in your pocket. Go out and support other businesses that are using this in commerce, so we can move away from a system that is really deceitful, and we can use a more honest system like what Bitcoin was set out to be. And you don't need a custodian of your money, and that's where gold has really fallen short, is that gold needs a custodian of money. As we became a more advanced society, we had to use custodians to store our wealth. It started when we were using gold, and we couldn't carry the gold all the way around us. We just left it at the goldsmith and took IOUs for our gold, paper money, and went back and forth with it. But when you have a Bitcoin Cash wallet, that doesn't exist. You actually have your own wallet, and you can carry around so much value just in your iPhone, wherever you want to store the majority your wealth at, and you can send any amount of money to anyone in the world for a fraction of a penny within seconds, and no one can stop it. No custodian can stop it. So a bank, if you want to move your money around, they could stop you. If America didn't want you to send money to someone in Russia, they could stop that. So Bitcoin Cash really solves this. Gets rid of the custodian, gives you the power, and I really encourage more people to do that. So make sure DM me on Instagram, rgiffin89, and I'll send you some Bitcoin Cash, and I'll easily set up a wallet for you. And get involved with more businesses that are using Bitcoin Cash. If you go to noise.cash, it's a Twitter-like platform. You can follow me, rgiffin, over there. You can make Bitcoin Cash on there by posting content, you can give Bitcoin Cash, and you can help create this future society. So anyways, that's all I got for this week, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell for any future content. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next one.